have to write the name here. Crust, mantle, core. Then crust has a two division. One is oceanic crust and another one is continental crust. The discontinuity which separates oceanic crust and continental crust is called as, what is that? Contrast discontinuity. The discontinuity which separates crust and mantle is called as Mohr discontinuity. So here in the mantle we have further two divisions. This one called as upper mantle. This here the lower mantle. In the mantle we have another layer. Upper layer of mantle is called as upper layer and crust both. Crust with upper layer of mantle is called as lithosphere. Below the lithosphere is called as asthenosphere. The depth of a crust is 30 kilometers. Then depth of a mantle 2900 kilometers. So for here next inner layer is about the core. Core has two division. One is upper core, the outer core and inner core. So this crust is made up of the chemical components is about silica and aluminum. It's called as Cl. In the mantle, silica and magnesium, same. Then here, nickel and iron. It's called as Nif. So these are the chemical components. We have two divisions like outer core, inner core, upper mantle, lower mantle. Then here continental crust, oceanic crust. It's the interior of the earth with a different color. If you draw these pictures, it looks nice. It will be with all the informations and it looks nice. So is that what? Write on this. So that's what we discussed about this crust, mantle, core. Then we have one concept next to discuss. It's about the rocks. About rock we'll discuss because these layers are formed, mainly this crust and mantle formed with the rock. It's filled by the rock. The crust totally is formed by rock, is not. So we'll discuss further in the rock. We have types, we have divisions. We'll discuss how the rock has formed. In the next coming concept, we will discuss how the rock has formed. Even now also it is getting formed. It's another process. We'll discuss how soil has got formed. What are the types of rocks we have? We'll discuss in the next class. Is that all? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the class. So, I have given a homework last day to write an answer for the questions which is given in your exercise. So, exercise is there in the end of your chapter. Means every chapter there will be exercise questions. I hope you got your textbooks. There we have questions. Give answer for all the questions. It's a homework. I hope many of you completed. Then I will go for the second chapter. Already we started to discuss about the second chapter. Isn't it? So what is the name of a second chapter? What is the name of that? Huh?
Inside our.
Yes. Inside our earth, otherwise interior of the earth. May I say it? Inside our earth, otherwise interior of the earth. Interior, that means inside. Interior, inside, same. So interior of the earth. Interior of the earth, otherwise inside our earth or inside the earth. You know, we discussed how our earth got formed, isn't it? We discussed how it was formed, and it was a part, and it's a part of a sun, isn't it? It's a particle of a sun. Not only the earth, then everything which what we have in our solar system, planets and meteoroids, asteroids and satellites, everything came out, or it's a particle of a sun, isn't it? Everything are made up of gases and some materials. So we discussed about that. Our inside the earth, interior of earth, it is made up of three layers. What are those layers?
Crust, mantle.
Yes, crust, mantle, then core. These are the three layers. So, what is the name of uppermost layer of earth?
Crust.
Crust. Good. So, the name of outer or uppermost layer of earth is the crust. Is that turn on? Yes. Then the next to the crust in beneath of earth's surface.
Mantle.
What is that?
Mantle.
Then innermost layer, core. So the last class we started to discuss about the crust. Is not. What is crust? Crust is outermost layer. It's a thin layer of earth. So crust is made up of rocks. Then crust is further divided into two divisions. Two types of crust are there. What are those? Continental crust and oceanic crust. Good. Continental crust and oceanic crust we have. The depth of crust is around 20 to 30 kilometers. The continental crust depth is 20 to 30 kilometers. The depth of oceanic crust 5 to 10 kilometers. So that's what we discussed. Then we have some more points to discuss as I told in the last class. Here the crust is not. The crust has a two division. One is oceanic crust, another one is continental crust. So the place or discontinuity. Continuity means, what do you mean by continuity? Continuation, is not. So this earth, interior of the earth, what we have, it is not continuous. The layer what we have inside the earth, it is not continuous. It has a discontinuation. The core and the mantle is a two separate layer. That means it is discontinued. It's not continuous. Discontinued and it is break. It has a break in between. So here also in between this oceanic crust is, suppose it's ocean. So here it's oceanic crust. In bottom of ocean is what is oceanic crust. So here oceanic crust and this continental crust, it has a division. So the discontinuity is divides the oceanic crust into continental crust into two separate things called as like Mohr discontinuity. Mohr is discontinuity and Conrad discontinuity. So there are discontinuities name actually. It's called as Conrad discontinuity. Conrad discontinuity here, which divides the discontinuity which divides oceanic crust and the continental crust. It's called as Conrad discontinuity. The discontinuity which divides crust and mantle is called as Mohorovic or Mohr discontinuity. It's called with two different names. One is like a Mohr discontinuity, otherwise Mohorovic discontinuity. So it's somewhat more information. It is maybe it's not there in your textbook, but it's more important. If you write, it will be somewhat effective, more effective. Like the discontinuity, write down the discontinuity, which separates the oceanic crust and continental crust is called Conrad discontinuity. It's a discontinuity. So Conrad means it's name of a scientist, geographer. Name of geographer is Conrad. His name has given to the discontinuity because he has found that the discontinuity which divides oceanic crust and continental crust as a two separate crust is called as Conrad discontinuity. Then is that all have written? Is that all? Okay. The next. So what is the value which crust constitute? How much volume the crust constitute? Volume of earth. How much volume? Volume of earth.
1%.
Yes, 1%. What is the mass it constitutes? The crust. 0.5% of mass. Have you given that point? Yes. Then we go for the next one. The crust we discuss. Then the layer which is below the crust. What is that? What is the name of the crust? Sorry. The layer below the crust. What is the layer? Yes. Mantle. We'll discuss about the mantle now. Mantle. The second layer below the crust. Otherwise, the layer, the layer below the crust is called as the mantle. So, the mantle, it is made up of silicon and silica and magnesium. As like this continental crust, the same the mantle also made up of silica and it's like a chemical component. The chemical component of mantle is silica and magnesium. It's called as sima, both like a continental crust and this mantle. So this mantle, it constitutes and it has the 84% of Earth's volume and 67% and 67.5. Okay, 67% of Earth's mass. It constitutes or it shares this mantle. It shares the 85 Earth's volume. It's the biggest layer inside the Earth. The mantle is the biggest layer. It constitutes around 84% of Earth's volume, and it shares 67% of Earth's mass. It contributes or it constitutes. So it has the top layer. The top layer of mantle and crust forms lithosphere. The top layer here. Further, we have a classification division, separate like a divisions in this mantle. The upper layer of mantle, this upper layer of mantle, and the crust, both the upper layer of the mantle and the crust is called as lithosphere. It's called as lithosphere. So below the lithosphere, again we have further classification, means further division. The mantle has divided into so many layers. The second upper layer in the mantle is called as asthenosphere. Asthenosphere. Then further, the mantle is divided into two divisions. One is upper mantle, another one is lower mantle. So upper mantle has three layers. One is lithosphere, asthenosphere, and this upper mantle. Then lower mantle, it has another division. So the discontinuity which divides the crust and mantle is into two separate layers is called as Mohovic or Mohovic discontinuity. So then the layer below lithosphere is called asthenosphere. As I showed there, it's called as asthenosphere. So the top layer in the mantle is called as lithosphere. The layer below the lithosphere is called as asthenosphere. The mantle is one big layer. In that we have some divisions: the top layer and the crust. Top layer of mantle and crust. Top layer plus total crust. Top layer of a mantle plus total crust is called as lithosphere. Then below the lithosphere we have asthenosphere. So this lithosphere is not continuously connected, it has broken in between. In these spheres, the lithosphere is continuously moving. This lithosphere continuously moves. Asthenosphere also that rotates over there, and this core also rotates inside. It moves inside. So it's about this two, and the red point, we have some more point to write about this mantle. Red on these points. So in the last class we discussed about this, is not about the crust, about the mass and the value and the thickness we discussed in the last class. Now it's about the mantle. Upper layer of mantle plus crust is called as lithosphere, and below the lithosphere we have asthenosphere. The discontinuity which separates oceanic crust and continental crust is called as quadrant discontinuity. Then again, the discontinuity which separates crust and mantle is called as Mohovic discontinuity, otherwise Moho discontinuity. Is that over? Okay. Then here the mantle. Say, sure. I wrote this. Why did I write this? So upper layer plus crust is called as lithosphere. Upper layer of mantle and crust is called as lithosphere, and below the lithosphere we have asthenosphere. And this mantle has a two division. One is upper mantle and lower mantle. Mantle divided into two layers as upper mantle and lower mantle. These are the two layers further in this mantle. One is upper layer and lower mantle, upper mantle and lower mantle. So the discontinuity which separates crust and mantle is called Moho discontinuity. So this mantle has depth of 2,900 kilometers. It's extended up to 2,900 kilometers. Here, from here, the depth of a crust is about 30 kilometers. It varies. The exact rate is not 30, it varies 20, 30, or it may go up to the 90 kilometers. But average is about 30 kilometers. Then from there, we have 2,900 kilometers of a depth. The mantle depth, it extends from 1 to 2,900. Till from here, Earth's surface, if you go inside the Earth towards 2,900 kilometers, you will get end of mantle. Will you go? Okay, we will arrange a time. We will arrange some place for that. We can go inside the 2,900 kilometers depth. You can go. You can reach there, and you can take from rock from there. Are you all ready? Can we go there? Okay, we will go there. Can we go? Can we get inside the Earth surface? Sorry, depth of or beneath of Earth? Can we go inside? No, it's not possible. And we can go only till 10 or 20 kilometers, may go 30 kilometers, that's it. But we cannot go further depth. We'll discuss why. So it's about the length of the mantle, which extends up to 2,900 kilometers. Right on this. Is it over? Is it over? The mantle is divided into two. One is upper mantle, another one is lower mantle. The discontinuity which separates crust and mantle is called as Moho discontinuity. Mantle has a depth of 2,900 kilometers. Then the volume it shares 84% of volume and 67% of mass. Is that over? What? We go for the next one. The next layer. It is. What is the name of next layer? Oh, it is a it is a crust, the mantle, and the core. The core is innermost layer of interior of the earth. Its innermost layer. Layer inside the earth. So further, the core and like the crust and mantle, it's separated by the Moho discontinuity. Here also we have the discontinuity which separates mantle and the core. It's called as Gutenberg's discontinuity. Discontinuity, which separates mantle and core into two divisions or two layers is called as Gutenberg's discontinuity. Gutenberg discontinuity. What is the discontinuity? Here, the boundary. It's a discontinuity. Gutenberg discontinuity. So further, the core has the two layers. Just like the crust, we have two layers. In the mantle, we have two layers. In the crust, we have two layers. What are those? Continental crust and oceanic crust. Good. In the mantle, we have two layers. What are those? Upper mantle, lower mantle. Same like that in the core also we have two layers or two divisions. The core has two divisions that are inner core and outer core. Inner core and outer core. These are the two divisions what we have in a core. Inner core and the outer core. Here the volume and mass. The core has 15% of volume of earth and 36 or 32.5% of mass, earth mass. So it's about the mass and the volume. So the core is the innermost layer inside the earth. The continuity, discontinuity which separates mantle and core is called as Gutenberg discontinuity. It has a two division. One is inner core and outer core. It's the inner core inside. It's the innermost layer, and this layer is surrounded by outer core. Outer core. Then it has 15% of volume and 32.5% of Earth's mass. It shares, it constitutes further. Here, write on this, go for the discussion. Write on these points. It's the innermost layer inside the Earth. Discontinuity which separates the mantle and core is called as Gutenberg. Discontinuity is the name of that person who given or who proponed or who explained about that, who proponed the theory, or it may be about the concept. It has given its name with that person. Then core has two divisions further, as like a mantle crust we have. One is inner core and outer core. So it has a value of 15% and the mass of 32.5%. Is it over? Shall we go? Shall we continue? Yes. Now, the inner core and the outer core, it is somewhat having a different characters. That means inner core is in liquid form. Outer core is in a solid form. So, sorry, inner core is in solid form, outer core is in liquid form. Before going to that, here, as like the crust, it is made up of silica and aluminum. The mantle made up of silica and magnesium. Same like that, the core is made up of core has chemical components. Like chemical or it is made up of nickel and iron. So it's called as Nifid. That means the chemical value or chemical component, we have some value for that. The nickel, the chemical value of nickel is Ni. Iron, Fe. It's iron. So the chemical component which is found in the core is called as Nifid. Inner core is in solid form and outer core is in liquid form. What we have, this core is made up of the magma. The core, what we have, the things, the material in the core, it is called as magma. The material in the core is called magma. The core, like a boiling fireball, still alive inside the earth, is called as magma. So write down these points. The core has chemical components. It has made up of some chemicals like the nickel and iron, is called as Nfe. Then inner core, it's in the solid form. Solid means it's very hard, the inner. Then outer core, it's in liquid form. Like it can flow, but it's very viscous and it don't flow very easily. But it's somewhat harder. It is not much harder, but somewhat liquid and harder, semi-harder. So this outer core is somewhat semi-harder, but inner core is very hard. Then material, which is the core, what we have is a magma. Totally we call it as a magma. The material which is there inside is called as magma. When this magma comes out of the surface, we call it as a lava. We call it as lava. So what is that process when it come out? What we call it the name that for the process? When this magma come out of the surface, it's called as a lava. What we call for that process when it come out of the earth's surface? What is that thing? How it comes out, come out of the earth's surface? What we call it with the name? Volcanoes. Have you heard about volcanoes? Jwalamukhil volcanoes. So how the volcanoes occurs? So this core inside the earth, it's boiling. It has high pressure, it has high temperature, and it has high density. High temperature, high pressure, high density is there in this core. It wants to come out. Suppose when you get into your kitchen, there one bowl of water, suppose anything, the rice or anything, suppose they kept, your parents they kept for boiling, and they have they have covered with the plate. After some 5 minutes or 10 minutes, what happens? What happens after 10 minutes? Inside, in their side, means like in the corner, you will get some the steam. You will get a steam. Is not. And after some 20 or 50 minutes, what happens? The plate start to shake. Why? Because the pressure increases inside because of high temperature. The pressure increases. The air what is there inside that wants to come outside. So there is no way for that air because plate is covered that. So the air that wants to come outside. So in order to come outside, that sets up places. Wherever it gets a places, it comes out of that. So there in the corner, it will get a place and it comes out. So same like that, this core it wants to come out of the earth's surface. Wherever it gets places, suppose there is some weakness over here. Suppose it's not having much harder. There this magma that makes a place and that comes out of the earth's surface. That next. So it's called as the volcanoes. That creates a volcano. This magma comes out of the earth's surface. That creates a volcano. Then this magma when come out of the surface is called as a lava. We have a separate concept to discuss about this. In the next coming chapters we'll be discussing about it. So it's about the interior of the earth. Is that clear? Right. So now we should write the diagram. We should write the diagram with all the informations like